The spread in the Backyard Brawl keeps growing and growing and growing per Vegas. Nobody's believing in the Mountaineers.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what is up? Good evening, guys. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia, guys, and we appreciate you for being here on another episode of the show this evening on what's been just an absolute, just draining day. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. This episode is going to be brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money right now. If you want to go to Monarch Money to take control of your finances using Monarch Money, use the code LOCKEDONCollege, monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. As an everyday listener, you guys continue to crush it, kill it, the whole 9 yards. Couldn't do this without you. This has been awesome, man. Just watching this podcast grow. We shared yesterday we were number one in growth in the entire Locked On company from last year this time till now, over 2,000% growth. Well, the next closest show was 500%. So, I mean, 75% more than anybody else in the entire company, guys. That includes every NFL team, every college team, every Major League Baseball team has its own show. We have to be proud of that as a fan base. We just have to be. Number 12 overall in views on YouTube, which is really good considering the heavy hitters that we're up against on that as well. And this continues to be just an incredible show. So thanks to you guys. And I'm not always perfect at it, so it could probably be even better if I would just tighten up on a couple things. But anyways, as we move forward, just wanted to thank you guys, because I say this all the time. We punch above our weight. We punch it at the elite level. If our team was as good as our fan base, we would be in the playoff every year. Oh, man. Speaking of our team, the spread in this game continues to grow. It grew again today. 7.5 point underdogs at this point to Pitt in the Backyard Brawl. And you might say to me, well, that's only a touchdown, Paul. Well, in spread terms, that's a pretty big spread, especially for a rivalry game and you're at your home stadium. And so that's basically saying this would be a 10 to 11 point spread at Pitt. That's considered a blowout or close to it in some games, double digits, right? So significant. Obviously it's going to be the 108th Backyard Brawl. We've been playing this game since 1895. Pitt leads the all-time series 63-41-3, but we've dominated the series for the most part over the last 20 years, even though it went away for, the last 30 years, even though it went away for 10 years. So that, it's kind of a weird thing to even keep track of at this point. Pitt has won 2 of the last 3. It'll be the final game of the 4-game series, and whether they're going to be down 3-1 or 2-2. Obviously, this is one of those weird things where 3-1 sounds so much better than 2-2. I don't know how to get a read on this Pitt team. We watched it last year. They started out 7-0, then lost 6 straight to lose the year. This year, they've looked good at times, especially against weaker opponents. Duquesne was an obviously easy win for them, and so Central Michigan was too. We had a pretty easy win against Robert Morris, and then a really hard-fought game against Ohio. I think that favors us a little bit. We found out more about our team than Pitt found out about their team for the most part. Now, remember, Pitt opened up as 2.5 point favorites in this game in July. But like I said, this thing's moved to 7.5 in recent days. 7 on DraftKings. And a lot of this has to do with Jaheim White and Jaden Bray both getting hurt has a lot to do with that, with the over-under being set at 57.5 points. If you look at the history in recent brawls, you had a 38-31 win for Pitt. We all know in that just Bryce Ford Wheaton, the ball goes through his hands at the end of the game. Just horrible. Nico Marchiol quarterbacked a win where we were underdogs in 2023. Even though it wasn't pretty, he did. And then in 2024, Pitt won again as they came back from 10 down in the final minutes, the past 4 minutes of the game, to win a barn burner, as we just couldn't sack Eli Holstein when it mattered the most, which is why I felt like Jamori Robinson would be such an important piece to get back for this game. I still don't think – I mean, it's looking grim for that, but I still haven't really heard for sure one way or the other, even though he's not on the depth chart. That's not a great sign. So, there's that as well. Dimers.com has Pitt as a 61% win probability, 30-26. Seems like a pretty good score. ESPN slightly lower at 59.4% chance to win. Sports Betting Dime has Pitt 30-9 to 26. Oh yeah, we already did that. But West Virginia covers the spread according to Dime. So that's interesting. Bookies.com says West Virginia, they're going to bet West Virginia with the points. So they're kind of predicting an upset here, which is pretty crazy. But the trend overall defies the spreads because the intensity of the game matters, right? Home underdogs have historically kept games closer, pulled upsets in the series. If you look at 07 and 09, West Virginia has lost two really good players in this game, so that's going to make an impact on it for sure. Now, Eli Holstein is only a sophomore, and obviously he is a highly rated four-star guy coming out. He's having an excellent year so far, 519 yards and 8 touchdowns to only 2 picks. He's obviously looked good so far against really inferior talent. Something to watch here is, can West Virginia confuse Eli Holstein? Can Zach Alley outsmart Eli Holstein? I think he possibly can. It's going to be fun to check and see for sure, because as we watch throughout the game, there's going to be that chess match going on that I'm going to be really excited to keep track of. Watching Zach Alley move different fronts around and do different things. But he's not their only talent, obviously, but he'll probably be quarterbacking against, as we all know, most likely Nico Marchiol, who's a redshirt junior. Eli Holstein is a sophomore, looks like a true sophomore. This is a game where I don't know how long Nico's going to have the ball. If we move it early on, then we'll probably be in good shape. If not, then we won't be, right? So it's that simple. I don't know how many series he'll get. And hell, it could even be that Rich Rod plays a whole other quarterback that he hasn't let Pitt prepare for. Maybe you want to get a little edge like that. You put Max Brown out there, Pitt will be scrambling. Believe that. If you look at the coaching storylines in this game, they're insane. Obviously, Pat Narduzzi, who is 2-1 in bowls at Pitt, says they have championship goals and they've got great team health right now. Because which is relevant because they left out 0-6 towards the end of last year, over the last 6 games. So he's been really vocal about making sure that the health is not a scenario where that happens again, because they're just, without certain players, they're not the same team as most teams are when they have really good players. And obviously Rich Rodriguez, who is back for his second stint, wants revenge in this game, in a game where I think it's the most important game of Rich Rodriguez's career. Oh, gosh, I keep forgetting about my meds do this to me, man. Sorry, guys. Let me get a drink of this real quick. You know, one of the things about this too is we all know about the 13-9 game, and we all know about the pressure involved. The stakes in this game are really high. It goes away for a few years until at least 2029, and you have to question, will Rich Rod even be at West Virginia in 2029? It's right there, probably on the fringe of his retirement age, right? I mean, you're talking 68, 69. He may hang it up in the next 3 or 4 years. I think he's only plans on spending probably 5 or 6 years, if I had to guess, even though he's a really energetic guy. You know, it's interesting to think about, because maybe this is his last chance, and God forbid this loss happen as well. I mean, it just would be bad. It would be really bad as far as from an optics standpoint and from a Rich Rod standpoint, having to live with this. Some people might say he deserves to. Key players for Pitt, I've graded a lot of them on an A to like on a grade leveling scale. Just A, B, C, D, E, F, just easy, because I didn't want to really spend a whole bunch of time grading each individual player, individually. It just would have took a very long time. So Eli Holstein is a dual threat. Even though it doesn't look like he is. 8 touchdowns. He's got 199.99 passing efficiency, with leads to the ACC. He had 36 rushing yards versus Central Michigan. He torched West Virginia last year for 301 and 3 touchdowns, which really a lot of that was in the last quarter. He's at least a B+ grade right now, in my opinion, as a quarterback in college, and could potentially go further than that. Des Reed, I give an A2. I think the Western Carolina transfer, who had 1,500 scrimmage yards last year, is an elite running back I would kill to have that guy. He's so very much like a lot of the players that Rich Rod has had in the past. And this dude here is an absolute monster to try to deal with, no doubt. Last year, they dumped it off to him. He would make us miss, and it was just horror over and over again watching him do that. Raphael Williams, I've got a C+ grade. He's got 166 yards and 2 touchdowns, including 121 and 2 touchdowns versus Central Michigan. He is a good player. While Kenny Johnson also has contributed a bunch of yards, and I've got him at a C+ as well. Justin Holmes, I've got as a C grad, as a C. He's their tight end. He's pretty reliable. He definitely adds depth to the Pitt roster passing attack, and certainly is going to be something to keep track of. And then the O-line, they returned 3 starters: Lyndon Cooper, B.J. Williams, and Ryan Bayer. And they've also got transfers like Kendall Stanley from Charlotte, Jeff Percy from Michigan, and Kevin Gouveia from Richmond, which really bolstered that group. They were rated in the D+ range. If you look last year at some sites that use the same grading system, and the 3 that are back this year are absolutely capable of carrying them. They've been good so far. On the defensive side of the ball, Kyle Lewis is an All-American. 101 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, and 4 interceptions in 2025. He's an A++ player. Maybe the best player. He's absolutely the best player on the field tomorrow. I don't think there's anybody on the field better. He's that good. And Pitt's lucky to have a guy like this that's that freaking dynamic, and he is for every little bit of that. So he's partnered alongside Raheem Biles, who had 82 tackles and 6 sacks last year. He's another guy. I've got him ranked as a B. You've got Braylon Lovelace, another linebacker that was there last year. So all 3 are back. And they were 15th in total defense last year, even though they had the rough stretch. Down the stretch, I've got him rated as a C+. He's a good player as well. Defensive line-wise, you've got Zach Crothers, who is just a standout. I've got him at a B+ right now. He anchors the D-line with Sean Fitzsimmons, Nick James, and Jimmy Scott. And they've also got Blaine Spires from Utah State, Jaden Moore from Oregon, They've got a ton of different dudes here that are on the D line that are all really good. I think the unit overall is a B. It's a very good unit. At the safety spots, you've got Cruz Brookins and Sean Lee Jr., who I've got B- and C+ grades on, respectively. Obviously they have an unproven secondary. I think this is a place they can be exploited if we can get the ball downfield. Sheridan Harrison is also a pass nickel that they use a lot too as well. So their offense ranks 33rd in the country right now, 16th in passing, 8th in scoring, and their defense is also top 15, 6th in rush defense and 28th in third down defense, although this is magnified by their cream puff schedule up until now. So that's the West Virginia thing. I think West Virginia's challenge is obviously after coming off the 17-10 loss to Ohio, where we were exposed offensively, the offensive line has played poorly. Pitt presents a much more athletic and potentially damaging front. So it's going to be really important for West Virginia to get out in front of this one and definitely hopefully get a lead to put Pitt in passing situations so we can unleash some pass rushers on them. Because if they're to work play action and things with Holstein, it's going to be good night, sweetheart. We go to break. On the other side of the break, guys, I'm going to do a segment I did earlier because, unfortunately, my microphone wasn't working well. We're going to talk about Rich Rod's 3-1 or 0-3 start last year, and how did they turn that around at Jack State, and how could they do it this year at West Virginia? Next. This episode of Locked On West Virginia be brought to you by our friends over at Mazda Standard, guys. And when we're talking about Mazda, you have to be honest and say they're one of the best car companies out there. And they deliver a confidence with every ride, with more IHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anybody else as of 2025. And you can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. Like our players, we see every detail because you make every move count. Impossible means irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. And of course, we can't forget about our friends over at DoorDash right now. When we're talking about DoorDash, we're talking about time to look back on this week's MVP who delivered by DoorDash, just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered the most. Remember that. So let's break it down, guys. For West Virginia, my player of the week has been Fred Perry for the most part. He delivered in a big way against Ohio. He had several tackles in the game. He was able to tackle in space pretty well for the most part and avoid penalties. So when the pressure was on Fred Perry, he came through, no hesitation, no delay. And if you have a player you've been watching week after week, maybe this performance wasn't a fluke for him as well as it was not for Fred. He is on a streak. Fred Perry is absolutely on a streak. So DoorDash is similar. They deliver your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks, and you can save every Saturday you order and stack it up all season. And you can get up to 250, including 100 in DoorDash credits. So order Saturday, keep the streak alive for FanDuel, only with DoorDash. Terms apply, and the promo code is going to be through 11/18. It's segment 2. Let's crack open this guys, as we talk about a couple of things going on here. And I hit the wrong button, didn't I? Sorry. So obviously I read this segment earlier. I'm going to try it again because my microphone, I didn't realize it was unplugged. The sound was horrible. Not many people wanted to even watch it, according to the YouTube numbers during that segment. So let's go over it again here. So it's one of those things where at Jacksonville State, they really had a really slow start. If you look back in 2024, they kicked off the year with 3 games they lost. Coastal Carolina, 55-27. Louisville, 49-14. and Eastern Michigan 37-34. That's 0-3 with the offense averaging only 25 points per game, a measly 121 rushing yards a game as well. And the defense was averaging like 47 points a game or something crazy like that. So, and 563 yards total per game. So obviously the fans were worried, and critics were also writing them off, but Rich Rod stayed the course, man. And here's what the deal is now. If you fast forward to the last 9 regular season games last year, they went 8-1 and flipped the script entirely with almost 60 new players. They went from 21 to 38 yards per game. They went they went 2/3 more rushing yards per game, up to 302 yards per game. And it's the classic Rich Rod ground and pound, as they just absolutely mauled opponents and played pretty well on defense, holding people to 20.3 points per game as well towards the end of the year. So that was pretty good too when you look at it. They won the Conference USA title with a 52-12 rout in the championship game, and really didn't look back from there until the Cure Bowl when Rich Rod came to Morgantown to come back. Obviously it wasn't magic early for them, and it was an adjustment period. It took buy-in from the players, and obviously Rich Rod's system finally kicked into place for them. And that's, I've asked a couple of their guys, what do you think made that happen? And they all say Rich Rodriguez is the reason behind it. His constant pushing everyone to believe that you can get better no matter what the outside person thinks. It's just something that he believes in. So if that's the case, guys, shouldn't we at least give him a chance to try to do this? I mean, it's not like we've started out 0-2. We're 1-1. We lost to what a lot of people would consider a top 45 team. So, it's not like we lost to an FCS opponent, right? We lost to a good MAC team that I'm not proud to say it, but it happened, and they proved they belong. So can we not improve? Because obviously last year's team improved dramatically improved. It's really not even close to our situation yet. They started out 0-3. Maybe we can get this thing figured out in 1 week sooner this year. That would be great. During the Backyard Brawl, maybe we get the best version of ourselves this week. Maybe it's finally starting to click for people. There's a bunch of different reasons that could be, for sure. I struggle with it because when you look at that Jackson State tenure, man, it was one of those things where they did a lot of firsts. Like they were the first from FCS to move up. Not the very first, obviously. They were, within the last few years, the only team I know of that's moved up from FCS to FBS and won their league within 2 years. So it's like he was playing with some FCS guys on that roster, whether he, like that or not. So, it was a pretty big turnaround. And they were also one of the poorest universities in the country. He didn't leave it that way. They actually had support when he left. So, he would have stayed had it not been for West Virginia calling again, which was something he just wasn't going to ever get the chance to fix. And so that's why he's here, right? He's here to do that. Are there any parallels between Jack State 2024 and West Virginia 2025? That was what I spent all my time trying to figure out today. What were the parallels? Well, I got a couple for you. The offensive style, the culture, and the potential of the teams are both pretty similar. He's got a spread option attack that thrives on a dominant run-pass game, and he really believes in explosive plays. At Jack State, obviously the rushing jumped from 121 to 302 yards per game once it clicked. West Virginia has only got 45 yards versus Robert Morris and very few versus Ohio. So getting the quarterbacks involved is a major part of this offense, and that's why I think Nico Marchiol ultimately probably won't make it there unless he just gets a little bit faster or whatever, man. But I'm definitely thinking, for me, there's no way. I just don't believe it. I'm thinking that, if we're going to be good at the run game, it's going to be one of the other guys, I think, Because who's going to hold that backside defensive end there on the pull if you can't run well? Obviously, so the offensive style, the potential, obviously, like this a large number of players were on both teams. Jack State had over 50. We've got 80. So, but that's still a lot of guys to get rolling, and he was still able to do it. Obviously, the defensive improvements are something that we are already doing pretty much. So, but they went all the way up to top of the conference good overnight, it seems like. And then continuity in history. Obviously, he built a powerhouse in here. We know all about it. We were here for it, and then he left and went to Michigan. And at Jack State, man, he just absolutely crushed it for sure. And he led a great transition back to the FBS, like we say. So I think this is one of those things where if you want to look ahead, I think we should stay optimistic because his teams do get better as the season goes along, and they adapt. Some systems click early, some don't at all. Some takes a little while to click. But when it does, it's peak offense, and it could be in conference play when it actually starts to click. Maybe it's not Pitt. Maybe it's conference play. I don't know. Because after Pitt, we've got Kansas on September 20th and all that. So, but hopefully it starts happening this week. I think that would be so great to have that and to tie this rivalry back up over the last 4 games because it has been absolutely brutal to have to deal with some of those dudes on social media here lately, if you're asking me, So I think it's there's no need to panic. I think Rich Rod's got this, and there's no reason to think otherwise. I think he's going to be fine. If we don't, then it'll be devastation, like you say, Sean, and that's for real. That's just the way it's going to be, right? Let's go to break one more time. We'll come back. We'll put a bow on this episode of Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. And right now with FanDuel, they're doing it pretty dang big right now. If you didn't know, now you know with FanDuel, guys. One of the things they're doing is the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. That's it, $5. And if you win, you'll get $300 bets to bonus bets across the app to use. So it's like free money to bet with. That way you're not even use your own money to do it, right? So it makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping your eye on the program lineup and your fantasy lineup. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app today by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, guys, we are back here in Locked On West Virginia, talking a little bit more about our friends over at Monarch Money. And look, Monarch Money is one of those places where they do it really big over there, man. They've got a lot going on. I was able to definitely pay attention to what they've got going on lately as an app, and it's been really good as they continue to slaughter people in their space. And look, most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether that's 401ks, properties, investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in, like your CFO and really the king of your finances. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or phone. So Monarchs is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances for long, Monarch can do that for you. It does the heavy lifting. That way you can link all your accounts in minutes. And look, you can see clear data visuals if you want. Get smart categorization on your spending. And also, obviously, be in control of your money for once. That's only going to be at Monarch Money. But, I got to say, don't let the financial opportunity slip through the cracks for you. Use the code LOCKEDON COLLEGE, Locked On College, at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year, even with the code Locked On College. All right, guys, we are back here for the last bit of this one, and I appreciate you guys so much for being here as we try to waddle through, as an ex of mine would say. I'm just waddling around the house, she would say. Big, thick country accent. This is going to be an amazing game, and I've still got a preview game to do, an official one with another person, but I've been wanting to say this all week. If we can just run the ball a little bit, I think we win this football game. I really do. If we can just move the ball a little bit, I think we can win this football game. And I think it could be by a touchdown or more if we can just figure out the quarterback spot. I know that's a big if, but if we can figure out a way to move the ball with somebody, I like our defense. I think they'll keep us in this game, especially if we're making long drives and scoring, keeping them off the field, the whole nine. Like, that's the blueprint. What Ohio did to us last week is the blueprint we need to have for them. We don't have to be anything fancy. We just got to get first downs and keep them off the field because they have a high-powered offense. I know that term is overused, but that's what they got. Literally, Pitt has the makings. Like, they really look like some of those old, kind of like those old Baylor teams maybe, or something like that, where there's just like slinging it all over the place against inferior competition. We'll find out a lot more against them on Saturday. But I'm picking West Virginia to win this game. I do. I think West Virginia is going to win it. I think all the emotion is going to get to both teams. I think all the emotion is going to play in our favor. I think we're going to play with controlled intensity. And I see the Mountaineers pulling this thing out in an incredible atmosphere, an incredible game, and for Rich Rod and company. And here's another thing. You know, I have to say, I just trust Rich Rodriguez. I still do. I don't care after one loss. Come back to me this time next year. If he's still losing, we can talk about it. But I don't want to hear it because Neil Brown had a lot of chances, right? And I was clammed up like a shell for 4 years watching him fail. Well, I'm not going to let it go that long this time as a fan. Obviously, I can't do anything about it. But I don't know. It's so hard, guys, you know? But, I mean, if you want to pick in a score, part of me wants it to be low scoring just because that means our defense is for real if we can hold them to less points. Because our secondary hasn't been tested yet. They had some missed assignments last week. To me, that's not physical related. Like, the offensive line not getting any push against Robert Morris at times, or definitely last week against Ohio. That's physical, right? Like, that is, oh, shoot, we have a physical strength problem. That's like the number one killer for an offensive line. I can do the greatest technique in the world, and if you're a lot stronger than me, you're still going to beat me, or at least come close to it and wreck the play design. So I worry about that with our O-line and stuff. But, yeah, if we can just protect one of the quarterbacks that we believe in that can throw it, whoever that is, Rich Rod, I'm assuming Max Brown or maybe Scotty Fox or possibly Nico can throw it. Obviously, Jalen gives us our best chance running it if that's what you're going to do in this game. I'll be interested to see for sure what happens with him too, because there's a lot of dudes that could potentially play in this game that could turn into stars if it all happens right, for sure. Ace Borlet, I'm not saying don't know if I'm saying your name right, but big fan of the show. What you do is great. In your opinion, what would be the best setup for West Virginia to be able to keep it in a game, quarterback, and so on? So in order for West Virginia to keep this one a game, they're going to have to do a couple things. I just mentioned one of the things to you, ball control, right? Rich Rod's got a staple. He wants to get like 25 first downs in a game. That's doable, right? It's a great stat. I think he's won over 95% of his games in which he's done that in. I would say another key to this game is when you if and when you get shots at Holstein, you get him on the ground. We all know how the game ended last year by him ripping out of a sack, almost Eli Manning style. He is a massive guy. He's not just big. He's massive. He's like Ben Roethlisberger, Josh Allen big. That's how big he is. He's not a small guy at all. He's a big boned, husky kind of dude that can run around and make a ton of plays. Josh Allen's probably a pretty good comp for him, although he's not. I don't think he's as fast as Josh Allen, but yeah, he can sling it around for sure. So get him to the ground. And then we have to fix our running game. If we can do those three things, I like our chances in this one. All right, guys. Did I pick a score already? I keep going back and forth on the score. I'll say this is tough because I want us to have a great defensive showing. But if you're asking me what I think will happen in the event we win, it'll probably be gosh, who knows? Let's go with 27-17 or 27-20. Yeah, there we go. 27-20. We'll just do that one. I think that's the one I'm going to settle on for now until something else comes out. Where West Virginia's defense looks like it played pretty good for the most part, but also West Virginia is able to score a little bit of points too. That'd be a pretty good happy medium to jump into. Guys, before we get out of here, I got to tell you about Fire TV College Football Kickoff. We're Locked On, where if you're a college football fan, and we know you are if you're watching this show, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate guide to and football weekly preview, where Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12, leads the conversation along two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson. That's right. He is along with former star Jesse Hawley, and also Locked On's great hosts and people like me, right? So it's going to be a college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. And I will certainly see you guys on the next one, as we'll have more previews tomorrow. I'll be having some Pitt guys in to talk this game because there's still much more to talk about. We've still got Thursday, Friday, and all that still to get through. So it should be a fun day tomorrow. Hold your loved ones tight today. I don't want to get in a big soapbox or, none of that. But what happened today in our nation was brutal. It was terrible. I couldn't watch it. I was so mad that somebody sent me the video. And that guy's kids and wife were in attendance to see that. That's probably the worst part for me was just, I hope that little girl's okay. And the other one, both of them, I hope they're okay. Hopefully they didn't see this horrible tragedy. All right, guys, thank you for being here. And I'll see you guys tomorrow as we jump back into the more Mountaineer stuff. I'll see you then.